在纳瓦夏的山脊上，有来自台湾的友谊与希望。请抛开地域的成见、种族的偏见、社会的歧见，一起回应环境与自然那属于万物平等的呼唤，种下友谊的树苗，搭起世代的桥梁，不分彼此，在宁静中都能重新看到阳光，看到未来。您现在正在收听的是台湾环境教育对话平台台湾 Environmental Education Dialogue TEED， 由环境品质文教基金会制播。
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Ryan, and this is the fourth episode of the Taiwan Environmental News Review podcast. On this show, I explore Taiwanese environmental issues by talking about stories in the news. On today's episode, I'm taking a look at how religious and spiritual traditions can have an impact on the environment. Join me as I try to learn more. When I first arrived in East Asia, I remember being surprised by some people out on the street burning money in a small metal pot. I knew the people weren't rich and wondered how they could afford it. A friend of mine had to explain to me that the money was fake and that it was meant as an offering to ancestors, spirits, and gods. The money I had seen was a kind of joss paper, a type of offering that also includes large squares of bamboo or rice paper, fake credit cards and gold, even folded paper cars and houses. In Taiwan, it's common to see people burning joss paper in temples and businesses burning it on the sidewalk. Personally, I found that the smoke hurt my lungs when it would get trapped by the overhangs in front of businesses and apartments. But I accepted that burning joss paper is a traditional cultural practice, and it's not my place to try and change it. So I was surprised when I stumbled on an article about joss paper entitled "Visit a Taiwan Temple, but Please No Incense" in IOL, May 11th, 2016. The article talks about changes being made at some temples in Taiwan. The Taoist Nanyao in central Changhua City is playing firecracker CDs instead of blowing up the real ones, and it's encouraging followers to clap their hands to create smoke-free noise. The Taoist Xintian Kong Temple in Taipei has banned worshippers from burning incense, asking them to pray using their hands and minds only. Other temples are sending offerings to the government garbage incinerators so that the smoke can be treated before it's released into the atmosphere. It seems like this is a small minority of temples though. When I walk around in Taipei, I still see joss paper burning at many temples and on the streets. I wonder if this behavior is easy to change. How many Taiwanese people would be willing to change their spiritual practices in order to help the environment and improve air quality? In Canada, there are many religious traditions which are not very sustainable. For example, the biggest holiday of the year is Christmas, and there are a lot of problems associated with the ways we celebrate it. On Christmas, people traditionally give each other gifts wrapped in colorful paper. Much of this wrapping paper is not recyclable because plastics and chemicals are added to make it shiny and bright. There have been many efforts to change the way that Canadians wrap their presents. Some people wrap their gifts in old newspaper. This is much better for the environment because not only can newspaper be recycled, but it gets used twice, first as reading material and then to hide the presents. However, even though people have been recommending that people use newspaper as gift wrap for many years, most gifts are still wrapped in shiny, non-recyclable wrapping paper. Even though people know that the wrapping paper isn't good for the environment, they still continue to use it. There isn't any religious reason for this. In fact, the Christian holy book, the Bible, doesn't say anything about how people should celebrate Christmas. In this case, it seems that it's just a tradition that people like. Children love the shiny wrapping paper and the act of unwrapping their presents on Christmas morning. It goes to show that traditions can be difficult to change, even if there is no religious meaning behind them. Another festival that's popular in Canada is Halloween. For this festival, children get dressed up in costumes and go from house to house collecting candy. The candies must be wrapped up in wax paper or plastic for health and sanitation reasons. Unfortunately, this wrapping, like the wrapping paper on Christmas, is usually not recyclable. In this case, there aren't a lot of options for environmentally friendly conscious people trying to celebrate Halloween. Maybe people could pressure candy makers to use recyclable or compostable wrappers, but I haven't seen a lot of efforts. Another environmental issue with Halloween is that many people buy cheap costumes that are only worn once and then thrown away. Alternatives include buying used costumes and making them from old clothes and giving them away to family and friends or donating them to second-hand clothes shops for people to use next year. Halloween is a fun holiday, but there's no religious significance behind it. Today, it's simply something fun for children and adults alike. With both Halloween and Christmas, we don't want to take away the fun from people or ruin a festival they have celebrated their entire lives. But maybe we have to take a step back and find better ways to do it. I know that traditions like these are not easy to change. The burning of joss paper is a tradition that could date back 1,000 years. It is important for many people to fulfill their duties to their ancestors by sending them offerings in this way. Some people might feel that playing recordings of firecrackers or sending joss paper to a government incinerator would not be as effective in paying respect to the spirits. As we can see from the examples of Halloween and Christmas, traditions like these are not always completely dependent on spiritual duty. Even if the religious leaders acknowledge other ways of giving thanks and asking for help, old traditions die hard. If temples start to allow other forms of worship, will people go along, or will they stick to the old traditions, simply because it is the way things have always been done? It will be interesting to see if these sustainable ways to pray catch on in the future in Taiwan. What do you think? Do you often go to pray at a temple? If so, do you burn joss paper, incense, or firecrackers? How would you feel about trying a more sustainable alternative? Would it have the same effect, or would it not feel right? I want to hear back from you and find out your opinions. Send us an email at info.eqpf@msa.hinet.net. That's info.eqpf@msa.hinet.net. Thanks for listening.